Namaste Saraswati Devi. Guruvani Pracharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Paskati Desataran. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna. So tonight we're going to continue with the Srimad Bhagavatam. And the last week we didn't have time to properly cover Srimad Bhagavatam 1, 2, 34, and 35. And then today's instruction, of course, is Canto 1, Chapter 3. And beginning with the Purusha avatars and Karnadakshay Vishnu, Garbhadakshay Vishnu, and Shirodakshay Vishnu. 6 questions were asked to Sutta Goswami, and he answered question 1, 2, 3, and 4, but we're going to go over 3 and 4 now. So, Krishna manifests the material world by expanding into the Purusha avatars, that is, Karanadakshay Vishnu, Garbhadakshay Vishnu, and Shirodakshay Vishnu. This is why things work in the material world. They function in a systematic way. Scientists also agree that nature functions in a predictable, organized way. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to do any scientific research. If every time there were random permutations and combinations and new occurrences all the time that didn't follow any law, then there wouldn't be any science. But because nature functions in a rational, organized, and predictable way, just like they can predict eclipses of the sun, eclipses of the moon, changing of the seasons, and different types of currents, and all kinds of things they can predict, because nature is functioning in a rational, organized way. It is not functioning in a random way in which there are no laws. Every time there's something new and different. Say. So that's why there's science. Why is there science today? Because there's superior science and superior scientists that have made the laws and made nature function in predictable ways. Okay. There are certain scientists that don't have a good time, such as volcano scientists. They can't easily predict earthquakes and volcanoes. So if you get a PhD in volcanoes and earthquakes, you always have a difficult time. Your ability to predict is not so good. However, if you follow animals, they know when earthquakes and volcanoes are going to erupt. You just watch them and you'll know something's going to happen. Okay, so Srimad Bhagavatam 1, 2, 34 says, "Thus the Lord of the universes maintains all planets inhabited by demigods, men and lower animals, assuming the roles of incarnations. He performs pastimes to reclaim those in the mode of pure goodness." So, as Prabhupada explains, there are innumerable material universes, and in each and every universe there are innumerable planets inhabited by different grades of living entities in different modes of nature. So here we have a picture, a model. There's one Lord of all universes, but there are many universes. Universe is not... we're living in one universe, which includes all the planetary systems, all the galaxies, all the stars, the one sun, everything. And beyond this one universe, there are many, many more universes. In fact, on billions of other universes. This was understood by Lord Brahma the Brahma of our universe has 4 heads. One day he went to visit Krishna in Dwarka, and he knocked on the door of the temple of Krishna's residence, and the guard said, "Who are you?" He said, "Brahma." He said, "Which one?" He said, "What? Which one? What do you mean, which one?" He said, "Which one are you?" He said, "What do you mean, which one am I? I'm the only Brahma." He said, No, there are many other Brahmas." He said, "What? I don't know about that." He said, "See, there's many things you don't know." So what happened? When he actually went in and had darshan of Krishna, he saw there were millions of other Brahmas. And he only had 4 heads. There were Brahmas with 10 heads, 100 heads, 1,000 heads, and 1,000,000 heads. They're Brahmas of other universes that are more complicated than our universe. Therefore, our universe is relatively simple. You only need 4 heads, 4-headed Brahma to maintain it. But in other universes, you have up to 1,000,000-headed Brahma. See? Now, that's also there are also millions and billions of Shivas, and there's millions and billions of, and more than that, of Shirodaksha Vishnu Paramatmas. They're in the heart of, they're in every atom of every universe, in the heart of every living entity. You see. So if anyone tells you, "I am God," you should start laughing hysterically, because that person doesn't understand anything about God. So now we're beginning to understand the magnitude of Krishna's opulences. And unless we understand this, we remain an atheist, and we remain a aparadi. We always, there's a saying in French, "Avec un si, on peut mettre tout Paris dans une bouteille de vin," which means, with an if, you can put the entire city of Paris in a bottle of wine. Right? So in other words, they're talking about speculation. What if I am Bhagavan? Yeah, wait a minute. There's no what if I am Bhagavan. One time, a man asking Prabhupada a question. He said, "Srila Prabhupada, I want to ask you a question." He said, "Yes, what is it?" He said, "Let's assume that God doesn't exist." "Stop." "What? Wait a minute, Prabhupada, I didn't ask my question." "Stop. This is not a question, it's illogical." "But Prabhupada, I didn't ask it yet." There's no question of what if God does not exist. There's no such thing. This is not a rational question. Then he stopped them immediately. He couldn't even finish the question. Prabhupada stopped him. Why? Because he's saying something that's not rational. What if God doesn't exist? Then what? Then nonsense. You say. So he stopped him. He wouldn't let him ask the question. He said, "This is not a rational question." You say. So Prabhupada is very quick on the draw. You say, that's a Wild West cowboy saying. They used to have these holsters with guns in it, and they would have these duels, whoever could pull the gun out faster and shoot, he would win. So Prabhupada stopped the Mayavadi before he could say something blasphemous about Krishna. He was quick on the draw. Why? Because he could understand immediately that this person is a Mayavadi, and he's going to say something that is insulting to Krishna, let's assume God doesn't exist. Then what? Then nonsense. There's no such thing, God doesn't exist. Okay, so this verse is saying that there are innumerable material universes, and in each and every universe there are innumerable planets inhabited by different grades of living entities in different modes of nature. So all of us are conditioned by these modes. This is our misfortune because we chose to separate ourselves from Krishna. Therefore, we're all guilty. We were all actually criminals. So if you appear in the material world, apart from being an avatara, but we're not avatars. So that means we're all guilty, we're all criminals, we all did something that's very, very bad. We rejected Krishna and came here to try and emulate Krishna, imitate Krishna. Of course, without Krishna's potency. So we just make a mess of it, right? We end up in dog, cat, and worm, and microbe bodies, going back and forth, up and down in the material species of life until one day, if we are fortunate, a pure devotee will stop us and say, hey, would you like a book about Krishna? He said, no, I'm not interested. What do you mean you're not interested? What's your name? Okay, shake hands. No, I don't want to shake your hand. What do you mean you don't want to shake my? What's the matter? You antisocial? No, okay, I'll shake your hand. You know. So the devotee will do everything, hook or crook, to stop the person from floating around in the ocean of dukkha sagar, suffering, and wake them up, jiv jago, so that they can understand they're a very precarious situation in this material world. And there's a hope that we can get out. The hope is chanting Hare Krishna, but more important than chanting Hare Krishna is associating with devotees, and real devotees, not the sometime devotees or I wish I was a devotee, but real devotees who actually follow the rules and regulations of Krishna consciousness and always back up their statements with shastric evidence. They never say, I think. I think means I stink. There's no I think. Either Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur said this, or Sutta Goswami said this, or Sukadeva Goswami said this, or Srila Prabhupada said this. It's not a I think. As soon as a person says I think, you should say I stink. I don't want to hear what you think. I want to hear what Shastra says. You see? Okay, so then Lord Vishnu incarnates himself in each and every one of the universes and in each and every type of living society. That means that Krishna incarnates in every species, not just in the human species, because all species of life, they're all jivas, and Krishna is merciful to all jivas. He's not just merciful to human beings. Therefore, he'll take appearance in every species. We know of certain ones, like the fish and the tortoise and the boar and the lion, but there are many others, many other incarnations of Krishna. In the microbes, in the worms, every one of them, Krishna appears to try and help the prajas, or his children, wake up and come back to Godhead. Of course, it's very difficult for the worm to wake up. Prabhupada, someone asked Prabhupada, they said, Prabhupada, how can we preach to the ants? Prabhupada says, it's very easy. So if you see an ant, you go like this, Hare Krishna, and you give one grain of sugar that has been offered to Krishna. You see? You can preach to everybody. We should have that vocation of being able to preach to everyone. Then Lord Vishnu incarnates himself in each and every one of the universes and in each and every type of living society. He manifests his transcendental pastimes amongst them just to create the desire to go back to Godhead. The Lord does not change his original transcendental position, but he appears to be differently manifested according to the particular time, circumstances, and society. Well, there's the famous masked man fallacy in philosophy, not real philosophy, but philosophy. So the masked man philosophy is, let's say I'm playing Kamsa in a play, and I dress up, I have a big beard and black wavy hair and dark eyelashes and everything, and I'm speaking, I look very scary, and when I come out on stage, I start talking in a very mean way to Harivilas Maharaj, some of the kids get scared and they start crying. And the mother said, don't cry, that's Harivilas, that's not the real Ranyakash. No, I'm afraid of him, you know. So when the Shingadev appeared, you know, Lakshmi Devi was afraid, Brahma was afraid, the Devas were all afraid. Brahma asked Lakshmi, he said, you're married to him, go and talk to him. No, I've never seen him like this before. So they asked Prahlad, can you give garland to Nrsimha? Yes, of course, this is my Lord. You're not afraid? No, that's my Lord. So he was not fooled. See, the real devotees are not fooled. But anyone who's committing sinful activities, like drinking water underwater on the fast day, like today's a fast day, right? So let's say you are thirsty, right? You say, okay, well, I'll go bathe in the Ganga, and I'll go like this. Everyone will see me go like this. And I'll go down, and when I'm underneath, when no one can see, I'll drink some water. Now I'll come up, Yes, I've been fasting all day today. So anyone who's been drinking water underwater on a fast day, they'll get afraid. But the real devotees, they're not afraid. No, this is our Lord. He's not really a lion. It's just a pastime to scare the demons, like you're on your couch. Why are you guys scared? You're doing some sinful activity or what? You shouldn't be afraid. This is Krishna. So Prahlad was not afraid. I'm not saying that Lakshmi was committing sinful activity, but everyone was fooled by the masked man except the real devotee, Prahlad Maharaj. See, it takes knowledge. This is the knowledge where if you understand, if you go through the Srimad Bhagavatam in a structured way, not, jumping here, jumping there, good, verse by verse, slowly. And this was recommended. We read in the introduction, we read in the first chapter of the Bhagavatam, and we're reading, it's repeated over and over again. You have to listen very attentively. In fact, here it is, 1:2:32 we read. As from wood, fire can be manifested, or as butter can be churned out of milk, so also the presence of the Lord as Paramatma can be felt by the process of legitimate hearing and chanting of the transcendental subjects, which are especially treated in the Vedic literatures like the Upanishads and Vedanta. So what does this mean, legitimate hearing? Legitimate hearing means 100% focused on hearing. That's why temple should be quiet like this, and everybody should be not focused on me, but focused on hearing this message. I'm simply trying to repeat what Prabhupada has said and what the acharyas have said. And we have to focus on it. And to be legitimate, you have to have followed the rules and regulations today. Wake up early, take a bath, come to Mangal Arati, chant your rounds, Tulsi Arati, Guru Puja, greeting of the deities, etc. This is a process. It's a process that you have to follow every day to become legitimate. Legitimate means you're following the rules and regulations, you're following the laws. A legitimate doctor actually went to doctor school and got his degrees, right? He didn't, there's a lot of doctors today, they just make, you can go, you can get Photoshop and you can get Word and all these things. You can make a degree, Harvard University, so-and-so graduated 1998, PhD, magna cum laude, Yeah, you can print it up and you can gold leaf it and everything, right? Put it up on the wall, put it in and people come and go, oh, he graduated from Harvard, he must know what he's doing. But the whole thing is a fake. It's not true. He just made it up, and he got away with it for 20 years, 25 years before he got caught. So, legitimate hearing and chanting of the transcendental subject, this is what we have to aspire for. And when you come to that point of legitimate hearing with absolute attention, it's called effective hearing, then eventually you become Shrutidhar. You hear one time, you remember the rest of your life. That's the potential that you have. That's what you can do. It's not my memory doesn't work, give me some Bacoba Munieri Ayurvedic herb to improve my memory. No. You don't need that. You simply need to hear and chant regularly, and you'll develop. Krishna will bless you with the memory. See, this is revelation theology. This has nothing to do with studying. It has to do with surrendering. And the more you surrender to Krishna, the more he reveals to you. So now it says, the happiness which the living beings are hankering for is not to be found within any corner of the innumerable universes and material planets. The eternal happiness which the living being wants is obtainable in the kingdom of God, but the forgetful living beings, under the influence of the material modes, have no information of the kingdom of God. Bible doesn't have it. Quran doesn't have it. The Granth Sahib doesn't have it. The Buddhist writings don't have it. The New Age gurus don't know it. Nobody knows what's going on in the spiritual world. The only place you can find out about what's going on in the spiritual world is Srimad Bhagavatam. There's no other book in the history of the world that gives you any information about who God is, what he likes, how he dresses, who his friends are, what he's doing on a regular basis. No other book has this information. So instead of reading Darwin, Marx, and Freud, we should read Srimad Bhagavatam. We shouldn't waste our time with any other book. It's a waste of time. Just Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam is the source of all knowledge. But yet, we read Dumbo and Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck and Harry Potter and this one and that one, what Trump is going, how he's going to win the next election, and all nonsense stuff. You think of it at the moment of death, you're not going to go back to Godhead. You're going to go back to anthood or wormhood, right? But if we study this Bhagavatam carefully, you get all knowledge. And you'll be empowered to speak that knowledge by Krishna and the Acharyas and Srila Prabhupada. So, this is a point that people don't understand. Everybody is looking for paradise in America or Hawaii or Manali or this place or that place. You know, they think I'll find paradise there, right? No, there's no. What does it say? Happiness, which the living beings are hankering for, is not to be found within any corner of the innumerable universes and material planets. You can go on Swarga, you're not going to find. See? Arjuna went to Swarga to see his Pitaji, Indra. And he was sitting with him, and Indra was honoring him. It's his son. He was very proud of him. And the entertainment was Apsaris were coming and dancing, you see. And Arjuna, of course, Arjuna's like 18 feet tall, right? It's not like, 5 feet 8 or 6 feet 4. He's 18 feet tall, and he's got muscles like this, And, he's very handsome, and the Apsari, what was her name? Urvasi, yeah. She was noticing, how handsome and how muscular. So she whispered to Indra, I want to be with him tonight. So Indra said, okay. So he said, Arjuna, my wife wants to be with you tonight. He said, what? He said, what do you mean, what? He said, no, I can't do that. What do you mean you can't do that? No, she's my mother. She's your wife. She's my mother. I cannot do that. He said, no, Arjuna, you don't understand. These are apsaris. They're not subject to those rules and regulations. No, they might not be, he said, but I am. I cannot do it. And then when he was incognito, and the daughter of the king, he was like a eunuch for that 1 year. Because he said no to the Apsari, to Urvasi, she cursed him to become a eunuch forever. But then Indra said, no, come on, look, can't make it forever. Just reduce it to 1 year. And, eventually he convinced her, she reduced it to 1 year only. So that 1 year, as eunuchs were allowed to go into the women's quarters and educate the young girls. They would bathe them and everything, but they were not attracted, right? So, but when the king found out that this is Arjuna, what was his name? Drupada. He found out that this is Arjuna. Is it Drupada? Virat, yeah. When he found out it was Arjuna, he offered the daughter to him. And Arjuna said, no, I cannot, marry her. He said, why not? He said, she's my child. I'm the guru. Guru cannot marry his sishya. You see, Arjuna had principles. See, this is what makes the difference in spiritual life and preaching. If you actually follow the principles, then you influence people, because you will not cross the line, right, of proper behavior. So he refused Urvasi, and he refused the young girl who eventually, he said, but you can marry her to my son, he said. So in this way, Arjuna was an ideal person. So this idea of finding happiness in the material world, here it is. Don't waste your time. You say, there's no real happiness in the material. What is the happiness here? It's the temporary relief of misery. That's what happiness is. It's like if you go to the discount store to buy discounted shoes. What's the name of that store? Payless shoes, right? So they have these different shelves, right? They have the same model in each shelf, but they have 8.5, 9, 9.5, 10, 10.5, 11, like that. So one man went in, he had 11 size shoe, and he was looking, and he didn't see the model he was looking for. But then when he looked at model size 9, he had the model was there. So he went up to the lady and said, the sales lady said, I didn't see this model. This is size 9. I didn't see the model in the size 11. Do you have one in the back room? She said, we don't have a back room. If it's not on the shelf, we don't have it. He said, really? He said, you're going to order some more? Yeah, but we don't know when. He said, wow, that's really frustrating. He said, wow, I can't help you, sir. I'm sorry, So he went back, and finally he chose to buy the 9. Well, because, he was puffed up, right? So he puts it on. It felt a little tight. He said, a little tight, but I'll get along with it. So he gets his regular shoes, puts it in a box, he carries that, and puts the 9 on, of the model he likes. And he's walking around, and people are noticing, hey, man, you got really sharp shoes. Said, yeah, I know. I just bought them at Payless. But they pinched his feet all day long. And when he got home, he couldn't wait to get home. He sat down, and he took the shoe away. It feels so good. Now, does it actually feel good? No, it's just a temporary relief of suffering. That's what he calls good. That's what people call good in this world. It's not really good. It's no good. But they won't accept that. See? So they're looking for a place. Why did the Europeans come to America, like Ponce de Leon? Do you know who Ponce de Leon is? You have to read American history. Ponce de Leon was a Spaniard, but he was looking for the elixir of eternal life. He heard that it was in the new continent called America. And he came and he discovered Florida. And instead of finding the elixir of life, he found crocodiles. And not crocodiles, but alligators and so many different things. But they were looking for the elixir of eternal life. So people are looking for the elixir of eternal life, but in the wrong place. And they'll never find it. But if we believe what they say here, it says that what you're looking for is obtainable in the kingdom of God, but the forgetful living beings, under the influence of the material modes, have no information of the kingdom of God. The Lord therefore comes to propagate the message of the kingdom of God, either personally as an incarnation or through his bona fide representative as the good Son of God. So Srila Prabhupada came in recent times. We have over 3,000 tapes of Srila Prabhupada speaking. Imagine if there was one tape of Jesus Christ speaking. You know how much that would be worth? People would pay $1 million for it. Right? Or one tape of Muhammad giving a speech. Kill the infidels. Oh my God, the people pay $1 million for that. See, but no, there's nothing like that. But we have 3,000 tapes of Prabhupada, and nobody's listening to them. Huh? Nobody's listening to him. We should listen to him every day. It's pure devotee on the level of Jesus. Actually, I made a mistake. Before I met Prabhupada, I was thinking that he was on the same level of Jesus. I was a Christian, so I was thinking, I'm going to meet someone like Jesus. But when I met him, I realized I made a huge mistake. He's much greater than Jesus. Much, much greater than Jesus. Right? He's the most humble person I ever met in my life. Right? And so sweet and gentle and kind. So we don't understand what's facing us, what we see every day. We take it for granted. The Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, Srila Prabhupada's tapes. We should be avid listeners. Avid listeners. See? We shouldn't listen about how to flip houses and become a millionaire in 3 weeks. It's a bunch of nonsense. Jai Shri Shri Radha Nila Madhava Ki Jai. So Prabhupada says, such incarnations or sons of God are not making propaganda for going back to Godhead, only within the human society. Their work is also going on all types of societies, amongst demigods and those other than human beings. So Lord Chaitanya liberated trees. He liberated a dog. He liberated the Muslims, which are lower than dogs, right? But yet, he was Samadarshi. And he gave Krishna consciousness to whoever was willing to listen. Just like Jesus Christ said, whoever has ears, let him listen. But everybody has ears. The elephant has ears. All human beings have ears. But not everybody wants to listen. That's the difference. So if we develop this desire to listen, then Krishna, Shinvata Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana, Hirdayantaksto Bhadrani Vidunati Srihit Satam. Krishna is dwelling in the heart. And when he sees that his devotee develops a real interest to listen, then from the heart he purifies the heart of the devotee and blesses him or her so that they can go on continually listening. He becomes the friend, because just like if someone, let's say Paramananda is here, and everyone says, oh, Paramananda, we missed you so much, Captain, we need you, and you're such a great person, and we love you, and why did you leave, and you should come back, and we need your service. He said, wow, my God, I'm going to stay here. They don't talk to me like this in Pune. only in Seattle do they talk to me like that. I'm going to stay here now. I'm going to tell my wife we're moving back, you know. Well, yeah, if you develop a desire to hear all this beautiful things like Brahma Samhita and so forth, glorifying Krishna. Krishna takes a special interest in you then. Just like Paramananda would take a special interest. The devotees here, because they're so praiseworthy of him, see? So now, this answers the question about the Lord's omnipresence in all living entities and his purpose. His purpose is to help living entities come back to Godhead. That's why he'll appear. That's why he's in the heart of everyone. He's in our heart right now waiting. So you're watching television now. When are you going to watch? When are you going to hear about me? No, I want to watch television. I want to watch this Bollywood movie. I'm not interested in you. Later on, all this. So Krishna is right there. He's watching everything we're doing. He knows more than we know what we're doing. But when we show an interest in Krishna, who's in our heart as Paramatma, then he becomes very happy. And he'll do everything to help us go back to Godhead. Everything. He'll make it easy. This is the real Sahaj Yoga. Sahaj Yoga is a nonsense concept. But the real Sahaj or easy yoga is chant Hare Krishna and be happy. Go back to Godhead in one lifetime. What could be easier than that, right? So now, the answer to question 3, if you have to look at Srimad Bhagavatam 1.8.35, it says, and yet others say that you appeared, Krishna, for the sake of rejuvenating the devotional service of hearing, remembering, worshiping, and so on, in order that the conditioned souls suffering from material pangs might take advantage and gain liberation. This is why Krishna comes. Paritranaya sadhanam vinasaya chiduskam dharma samstapanartaya sambhavami atmamaya. Right? So when there's a decline in spiritual practices, and a concomitant rise in irreligion, the Lord appears in order to deliver the devotees, destroy the demons, and reestablish the principles of spirituality. So he appears to rejuvenate devotional service of hearing, remembering, worshiping, and so on, in order that the conditioned souls suffering from material pangs might take advantage and gain liberation. Now, here's an interesting point. Everybody is suffering. Do you know anybody who's not suffering in this world? Everybody is suffering, and they're going to the doctor, they're going to the psychologist, they're going to the palmist, they're going to the astrologer, they're going to some demon to find help. Just like if you ever read Faustus by Goethe. It's a story about a man who makes a deal with the devil. The devil said, you want to be rich, you want to be famous, you want to be powerful, I'll give you it all. But when you die, you give me your soul. He said, okay, I'll make a deal. This is a book, right? Very famous book. I'll make a deal with you. So all of a sudden he became rich, powerful, famous, and he was enjoying life like anything. And then he started getting old and he started getting scared. My God, what's going to happen to me? He's going to take my soul to hell. And he tried everything to get out of it. He realized the riches, the fame wasn't worth it, because now he's going to go to hell forever. You see? So don't make a deal with the devil. Right? It's not a deal. You're going to be shortchanged. It's just like Obamacare. You know, you'll be shortchanged. You know, so don't do that. Anyway, in the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, the Lord asserts that he appears in every millennium just to reestablish the way of religion. The way of religion is made by the Supreme Lord. No one can manufacture a new path to religion, as is the fashion for certain ambitious persons. Yeah, like guru this and this avatar and that avatar. By the way, if anyone ever says, avatar, we read this a little bit later on in Bhagavatham, you should become extremely angry and chastise that person. If you don't, you'll be guilty of sin for having listened to that and not opposed it. Just like there's one fool in the Bellevue who claims he's a modern avatar, right? He is rascal number one. We should not tolerate these people. They wanted to have a booth in our vegetarian festival. I thought about it a little bit. I said, wait a minute. When they wanted to have that booth, I read that in Bhagavatham, the morning Bhagavatham, and I said, my God, we were almost going to say yes. What did I tell you? Did I tell you or Jaipur? I told him no. Call him up, tell him no. We're not going to do it. No, we should not accept anyone who claims to be an avatar of Krishna. It's very sinful. We shouldn't even hear it. And if they say it, we should chastise them severely. The factual way of religion is to accept the Lord as the supreme authority and thus render service unto him in spontaneous love. A living being cannot help but render service because he is constitutionally made for that purpose. The only function of the living being is to render service to the Lord. The Lord is great and living beings are subordinate to him. Therefore, the duty of the living being is just to serve him only. Unfortunately, the illusioned living beings, out of misunderstanding only, become servants of the senses by material desire. This desire is called avidya, or nescience, ignorance. And out of such desire, the living being makes different plans for material enjoyment, centered about a perverted sex life. Prabhupada is extremely heavy. Extremely heavy. He puts his finger right on the problem. One time the question came up, why did we come to the material world? And someone said, to smoke marijuana. Answer, no. To eat meat. Answer, no. To watch movies. Answer, no. To gamble. Answer, no. To engage in sense gratification. Answer, yes. That's why we're here. That's why we all came. All the men, all the women, all the animals. In fact, this sense gratification, you come to the farm and you watch my bull, Narayana, and you're going to see he's got only one thing in his mind. Or he has two things in his mind. Eating and enjoying with the young ladies. He's got 4 girlfriends. Right? Right. That's all he does, all day long. I'm not going to explain all the sordid things. You have to come and see it yourself. But this is present in every species. In the fish, how did Sobari Muni fall down? You tell me. 9th canto. He was meditating for 10,000 years underwater. That's how great a yogi he was. And one day, a school of fish came by, and they were mating. And it agitated his mind and broke his 10,000-year meditation. See? The fish, the worms, the snakes, they're all engaged in sense gratification. It's going on in every species of life. And that's what keeps people, that's what keeps all living entities in the material world. It's only in the human form of life that we can break away from this. But it requires tremendous amount of hearing and chanting. One time I asked Prabhupada, I said, Prabhupada, is it possible to become free of sex desire? He said, yes, but only by chanting. He said, you must never stop chanting. It is possible. It is possible. He said so, and we know it's possible. However, are we going to make the effort? That's the question. Just like one time a man saw a worm in stool, and he felt compassion for it. Oh, this is so terrible, he said. So he picked the worm up, took it out of school, and put it where the clean grass was. And he waited a minute. What did the worm do? What do you think? Went back to the school. And the man couldn't believe it. And then he realized, my God, I'm like that too. You see? Just like the worm. So, we can only break this perverted mentality by chanting in the association of genuine devotees and hearing Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita and serving humbly. So, therefore, the living entity becomes, because of this perverted sex life, the living entity becomes entangled in the chain of birth and death by transmigrating into different bodies on different planets under the direction of Supreme Lord. Unless, therefore, one is beyond the boundary of this ignorance, nescience, one cannot get free from the threefold miseries of material life. That is the law of nature. So it's impossible to become free of suffering. Impossible. Daivi hiesa gunamai, mama maya duratyaya. This material nature is Krishna's energy. She's functioning under him. You cannot defeat Maya. It's impossible. But mam evaye prapadyante, mayam etam tarantite. It is possible if you surrender to Krishna. Prabhupada said this verse, 7:14, is the solution to all problems. 7:14, Daivihi esagunamai. Simply surrender. Saranam. Right? But surrendering is actually sweet. You know, everybody wants to be surrendered to a pure person, but the purest person is Krishna. Some people are surrendering to Trump. Some people are surrendering to Biden. Some people are surrendering to Putin. We should surrender. Some people surrender to Ravana. Right? At least Marichi was smart. Ravana told him, if you don't go back there and fool Lord Rama, you know, in other words, Sita wanted you as a golden deer and tell Rama to go get you, and you take him away, I'll kill you. So Marichi was thinking, I'm going to be killed either way. If Ravana kills me, what benefit is there? He's a nonsense. But if Rama kills me, my God, that's the greatest benediction in the world. He said, okay, I'll do it. You see, he was smart, very smart. Because he understood, he saw Rama kill 16,000 Rakshasas. 2 of them were brothers of Ravana, right? So he knew he was God. But he couldn't convince Ravana. But now Ravana gave him a choice. Either I kill you or Rama kills you. Take the choice. Okay, I choose Rama. Right. So, unless, therefore, one is beyond the boundary of this ignorance, one cannot get free from the threefold miseries of material life. That is the law of nature. The Lord, however, out of his causeless mercy, because he is more merciful to the suffering living beings than they can expect, appears before them and renovates the principles of devotional service comprised of hearing, chanting, remembering, serving, worshiping, praying, cooperating, and surrendering unto Him. See, it's very nice to find alternate translations that Prabhupada gives to fundamental verses. This is an alternate translation. So it's usually hearing, chanting, remembering, serving, worshiping, praying, and serving, right? And surrendering. But here he said cooperating. Say, very important. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Sakyam, Dasyam. So instead of saying Dasyam, serving, he said cooperating. Now, I remember once, many years ago, way before you were even born, there was problems in the temple. And Prabhupada came and he said, I know there are problems. He said, I know this. But your duty is to stay. Do not leave Krishna consciousness. Even though there are problems, this leader is doing this and that person is doing that, of course, but do not leave. The problems will be resolved. Don't leave ISKCON. So, that's what we should follow. We should, dasya means cooperating. Even if the leader is bad, he won't last, or she won't last very long. But we should cooperate and do our service. Because Krishna is not bad. If your service is for the deities, and you say, I'm leaving because this person did this or that person did that. Oh, wait a minute. You're not leaving this person and that person. You're leaving Krishna's service. So your obligation is to stay. Why? Because every problem will be solved over time. People have heart attacks. They have desires. They, get in trouble with the law. So many things happen. And someone is not following, they will definitely be taken care of by Krishna and Prabhupada and so forth. It's just a question of time. But if you leave, you say, no, I'm going somewhere else where the temple is better. Yeah, but what about the service to the deities? You see? Just like Prabhupada told Jananivas and his brother, never leave Mayapur. How many years have they been in Mayapur? 45 years. Never left. Sobari was told, don't leave this ashram even though no one is here. Eventually Ram and Lakshman will come. What did she followed her guru. Ram and Lakshman eventually came after a very long time, and she attained liberation because she followed the instruction. So, all suffering can stop immediately if we surrender to Krishna. That's the solution. There's no other solution. It's not, you take this course or you get psychological help, or you take this Xanax or benzodiazepines, Prozac, this. That's not going to solve the problem of suffering. The problem of suffering is cooperate, surrender, serve, chant, hear. Then you'll be in ecstasy even in hell. Hell will be turned into Vaikuntha. Just like Prabhupada came to hell, the Lower East Side of New York, in 1966. I'm not going to explain what was happening there. I was there. I would not be able to say these things in the temple, what was happening there at that time. But it was disgusting. But he didn't think it was disgusting because he was serving his guru's mission to go to hell and liberate those sincere souls that are there who want to hear and chant. And he found many. Although anyone else would say, you're wasting your time, Prabhupada, it's not possible. These people are too low. No. He was a pure devotee. Therefore, a pure devotee can take Adama and make him Uttama. Take the lowest person and make him the best person. You see. So, we should not complain, just like a dancer was complaining. She said, I wasn't able to dance properly because the floor was slightly slanted. No, it's not the floor's floor. fault. It's your fault. A good dancer, if Krishna could dance on the heads of Kaliya, then you can dance on any floor and do a good dance. Kaliya's heads are always moving around like this, and he was dancing perfectly. So if you're really a good dancer, you can dance on a crooked floor also. But if you're crooked, that's different. That's different. One time I had an auntie called Manushag. Manushag means violet. And she was crooked. She was bent over like this. She was always smoking and drinking coffee and eating meat. And so some people get that spinal deformation after a time, and they're like worse than a hunchback. So they're always bent down like this. So one day I was sitting with her and I said, Auntie, I said, can you cook soup in a bent pot, in a crooked pot? And she said, what do you mean? I said, let's say a pot is crooked. Can you cook soup in it? I can do it. Why did she say I can do it? Because she was crooked. That's why she said I can do it. Anyway, this is the type of humor you don't laugh to, but if you were from my background, you would laugh hysterically. Because she was crooked, she said she could do it, okay? So anyway, if we follow the rules and regulations, then we can tolerate any situation. Any situation we can tolerate. But if we're not strictly following, then the slightest agitation will say, I give up. I'm walking away. This is not right. It's the floor's fault. It's Trump's fault. It's this fault, that fault. Right. So then, Srimad Bhagavatam 10.8.49 says, Drona and Dara said, please permit us to be born on the planet Earth so that after our appearance, the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead, the Supreme Controller, and Master of all planets will also appear and spread devotional service, the ultimate goal of life, so that those born in this material world may very easily be delivered from the miserable condition of materialistic life by accepting this devotional service. So this is the answer to question 3. Why does the Lord appear? He appears to spread the glories of bhakti yoga and chanting Hare Krishna and devotional service as the only means to get relief from all suffering. So now we'll begin what we're supposed to do today, and that is we Yeah. So 1.3.35 it says, thus learned men describe the births and activities of the unborn and inactive, which is undiscoverable even in the Vedic literatures. He is the Lord of the heart. So Kshirodakshaya Vishnu is the source of all incarnations. And there are many different incarnations of the Lord. We will study that soon. But first, we're going to study the functions. We've already spoken about Kshirodakshaya, Karanodakshaya Vishnu and Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. Now we're going to speak about Kshirodakshaya Vishnu. So, this Kshirodakshaya Vishnu, he pervades all things and thus appears to be many, although he is one without a second, just as fire permeates wood. So we read that. The supersoul enters the bodies of all living entities and helps them to enjoy the effects of the 3 modes of the subtle mind. Now, this is, unfortunately, a big subject that we should understand. In Bhagavad Gita 6.5, it says, one must deliver himself with the help of the mind and not degrade himself. The mind is the friend of the conditioned soul and his enemy as well. So if our mind is full of desires for sense gratification, guess who's going to help us to get the sense gratification? What's the guess? Is it Maya? No, it's Krishna. So he's going to help us to go back to Godhead if we have an interest in hearing about him. And if we keep harping in our mind on sense gratification, he's going to make it available. He's not going to force us, but he's going to make it easily available if you want it. So, therefore, everything depends on what's going on in the mind. You can be doing devotional service and still have a nightclub in your mind. Because nobody knows. I don't know what you're thinking. You don't know what I'm thinking. You can only understand by what we're doing and what we're saying. But some people, just like I told this story, there's this one devotee who studied psychology, got a PhD in psychology. And he wrote a book on how to hide your identity. Now, why would you become an expert in hiding your identity? Because even as a brahmachari, he was seeing prostitutes. And nobody knew it, because he looked like a pure devotee. And even after he got married, he was still seeing prostitutes. And nobody knew it. Even his wife didn't know it. But you can't hide anything from your wife. Eventually she found out because of the way he was acting. And then she confronted him. And he said, I can't help it. He said, this is the way I am. And he's a good devotee. If you look on the outside, he's a good devotee. He chants nicely, he preaches nicely, everything. But yet he has this weakness. And he's an expert at hiding it. He wrote a book on how to hide your identity. You see how convoluted it is. And this is a true story. I'm not making it up. It's a true story. Don't ask me the name of the person. I'm not going to tell you. But it's a true story. You don't know him anyway, so it doesn't matter. But this is what happens. Everything is going on in here. This is where it's going to be determined whether we become a devotee or not. It's not physical. It's mental. And this is explained in Bhagavad Gita 6.5. Prabhupada says, since the mind is the central point of yoga practice, Atma refers here to the mind. The purpose of the yoga system is to control the mind and to draw it away from attachment to sense objects. It is stressed herein that the mind must be so trained that it can deliver the conditioned soul from the mire, or meaning the dirt or contamination of nescience or ignorance. In material existence, one is subjected to the influence of the mind and the senses. In fact, the pure soul is entangled in the material world because the mind is involved with the false ego, which desires to lord it over material nature. Now you see, there's a verse that says that the mind, the senses is superior to matter, and the mind is superior to the senses, and the intelligence is superior to the mind, and the soul is superior to the intelligence. But it can get scrambled because of bad association. And all of a sudden, the mind can influence the intelligence, and the soul becomes helpless. This is what we are dealing with. This is what the yogis are dealing with also. You can be acting properly, and still the mind can be out of control. You can't maintain it, because eventually it will come out. But it can go on for a long time, just like this person. He hid his dark side for years and fooled hundreds of people. Eventually his wife found out, So the purpose of the yoga system is to control the mind and to draw it away from attachment to sense objects. It is stressed herein that the mind must be so trained that it can deliver the conditioned soul from the dirt of ignorance. In material existence, one is subjected to the influence of the mind and the senses. In fact, the pure soul is entangled in the material world because the mind is involved with the false ego, which desires to lord it over material nature. Therefore, the mind should be trained so that it will not be attracted by the glitter of material nature, and in this way the conditioned soul may be saved. One should not degrade oneself by attraction to sense objects. The more one is attracted by sense objects, the more one becomes entangled in material existence. The best way to disentangle oneself is to always engage the mind in Krishna consciousness. So, that's why some people study Sankhya Yoga. Sankhya Yoga, what does that mean? It means you quantify things. Just like, let's say there's an extremely beautiful woman or a beautiful man, a handsome man, right? So the woman is attracted to a handsome man. The man is attracted to a beautiful woman. But let's take the man, the attractive woman, put him on a surgical table, and inoculate them with a sedative. And take a very sharp knife and cut them right down from the throat to the lower part of the body and open up the body. Right? Almost immediately, the attraction of that person is lost. Because now you see blood, you see a heart, you see a liver, you see intestines, you see urine, stool, plasma. All of a sudden, the beauty, the image that you were attracted is lost. And you become disgusted. You say, I don't want anything to do with this. You see, that's Sankhya Yoga. When you break things down to the 24 fundamental material elements, at a certain point, your attraction to that thing is lost. But as long as it's intact, right? It's like a beautiful bag. You get these really expensive bags, when you go to these expensive stores, and you're like proud to have that bag, and you're walking down the street, Gucci, Saint Laurent, and people say, oh, well, that guy's really into, high class stuff, But what if there's only stool in the bag? Huh? They open the bag and say, what's that? You say. So, this is the way to look at things. Oh, that looks so attractive. But actually, what is it made out of? It's only made out of stool, urine, muscle, bone, marrow, saliva, wax. Right? All of a sudden, the attraction is lost. But you need intelligence for that. You need intelligence for that. However, the devotees, they go to the higher level of Sankhya Yoga. The higher level, the materialistic Sankhya Yoga only sees the 24 elements. That's the false Kapila. But the real Kapila Muni, he was teaching how to see the 25th and 26th element. 25th element is the Jivatma, and 26th element is Paramatma. You see? So one time I was sitting in a car, and the man was driving, and his daughter was in the back seat. She was a teenager. And I was thinking, let me say something. So I turned my head back to the teenage girl. I said, what would you think if your dad was with you all the time, wherever you went, to school, to the sleepover, to the movie? I said, what would you think? She just remained silent for a minute. I said, that would be really weird. Now, what does that mean? That would be really weird. She was saying, she didn't want to say it in front of her dad, but what she meant was, if he was always with me, I wouldn't be able to do what I want to do. And I would feel very, very uncomfortable. You see. So, if we are taught not to see Paramatma, people say, oh, that doesn't exist, that's just fairy tale. That's religion, that's not science. Right? So they make all these excuses in school. That's what you believe. Just like one time, my daughter was in a class, and the teacher said, well, according to Darwin, we all come originally from monkeys. And my daughter raised her hands. She said, that's not true. We come from Krishna. And the teacher said, that's your religion. That's not science. Now that confused my daughter. And she came home and said, Dad, I went to school today, and the teacher said we all come from monkeys. And I raised my hand, and I said, no, that's not true, we come from Krishna. And she said, no, that's religion, that's not science. And I didn't know what to say. You see? This is what's going on in schools. This is like, what is it? Not Nanda, Sananda and Amarka, right? Who are they? Demoniac teachers of Prahlad Maharaj. His father sent to a school where the teachers were demons. You know why they're demons? Because they say, that's your religion, that's not science. See? So they're still teaching the same thing today as they did in the time of Prahlad Maharaj. It's not that it's something new. Okay, so everything depends. So then the kids, they get confused. They say, wait a minute, this is my religion. It's not even my friend's religion. It's my particular religion, Hinduism or Vedic, and it's not science. I I will never get a job in Microsoft if I study this, see? Because it's not science, it's not real. No, this is more real than the so-called science you're learning, you see. But these ideas, once they're implanted in the mind of a child, it's almost impossible to get it out of the mind. It'll take a lifetime or many lifetimes before it gets out of the mind. That's why we have to train our children simultaneously as they're being contaminated in the school with the real knowledge, or just have our own schools and just have faith that, see, like myself, I knew, I did graduate college, but I knew I was never going to be integrated into the society. I knew that. I was a hippie. And I didn't, join the army. I didn't do this or that. I didn't go back to get a higher degree in college. But I did meet devotees. I became a devotee. Now, as a devotee, I didn't get any training on how to make money or how to make a living. I just was trained to go out on Sankirtan, distribute books. But I was trained how to talk to people and convince them, and how to help people become Krishna conscious. But when I got married, I understood that if I'm married, I can't simply do this. Because if I have kids, we're not going to live in a temple. It's going to be very difficult. I'm going to have to, and I don't want to take money from the temple. I don't want to go out and do Sankirtan and keep half the money, or make life members and keep half the money, So I decided I'm going to have to get a job somehow or other. And I said, I'm not going to get a job. I'm not going to work for anybody else. I never worked for anyone in my life. So I had to start a business. And I didn't have any experience in business, but I started a business. And by Krishna's mysterious potency, it became a very big business and very profitable. And I was still a devotee, and I was still doing devotional service, but I had this big business. And then Krishna showed me that I don't have to go to school to do this, right? Bill Gates did not get a college degree. Steve Jobs did not get a college degree. They dropped out. Both of them dropped out of college, and they became fabulously rich, right, by going into business. Prabhupada refused his college degree. He didn't take it. But he became a pharmacist, and he was very, very, if it wasn't for becoming a devotee, he would have probably been one of the richest persons in India. He said so. But he rather kept a low profile of his business. It was enough to maintain his family. But he was always engaged in devotional service after he met his guru. So, therefore, we have to be careful what we let into the mind. Because if we let a false concept into the mind, such as sense gratification is the goal of life, we all come from monkeys. There was a big bang, and that's the start of everything. It's not Krishna created the world, right? That's all mythology. This is science. There was a big bang from a point of infinite density, which is nonsense, right? So they're teaching mythology. We're teaching the real thing, but we think, after going to these schools, that the real thing is not true, and the mythology that they're teaching is true. You see, this is the danger. You have these two opposing, diametrically opposed concepts of reality. So, but we should have faith that if we become devotees, and devotee means good devotee, Krishna will take care of us. He'll give us the intelligence to make an honest living, maintain our families, and so forth. That all this college education is not actually necessary. You might think it's necessary, but it's not actually necessary. Einstein did not get a college degree. He didn't go to college. And he's the greatest thinker or stinker in the world today, right? He didn't go to college, right? It's not necessary. The college is a waste of money and time nowadays. What do you learn in college now? Black history. You get a PhD in black history. You think you can get a job with a PhD in black history? The only place you can get a job like that is in a black university in the United States. Other than that, you're not going to get a job. And this one devotee got a PhD in volcanoes. He couldn't get a job. He got a PhD. He couldn't get a job. You see? So let's not waste our time. Let's just focus on Srimad Bhagavatam. Now, I did not focus completely. I diverted a little bit today. But if we understand the things I did discuss, they're extremely important. Everything depends on what's going on in the mind. So therefore, we should fill our mind with the nectar of Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita all the time. Right? And one time Prabhupada said that we should have one class after another and discuss this problem of sense gratification. He said you should have consecutive classes on this subject, one after the other. Because this is what's keeping us in the material world. This is why we're working so hard in the corporate structure, which is this corporate destruction, destruction your spiritual life. And we're going through all that austerity to make the big bucks. And okay, fine, if you're using it in Krishna's service, there's some saving grace there, of course. But usually people just forget about serving Krishna. They just do some token donation to Krishna, and they just enjoy sense gratification. And that means that at the moment of death, you can't get your mind off of it. You have to repeat the whole thing over again. Okay, we'll stop right there, and we'll continue next week. So our homework is we have to read Srimad Bhagavatam verses 1, 3, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 44 for next week. Okay? Are there any questions? Has to be one question, otherwise we will not adjourn. No questions? Come on, Divya Kristi, ask a question. No, he gives you the opportunity. He'll set up the opportunity for you. He'll make it available. He's not going to force you to engage in sense gratification, but he'll, it's just like, let's say you want to smoke marijuana, right? I'm not saying you want to, but let's say you're desiring to smoke marijuana. So he'll make a situation where the marijuana is easily available. You just have to accept it. You don't have to go buy it or anything. Someone is offering to you.
So is this true both with karmis and devotees, or Maya plays a different role with karmis than the devotees?
It's worse for the devotees, because the more advanced you become, the harder the test will be that Maya will give you. She's going to vet you to make sure you actually deserve to go back to Godhead. So this is called the Acharya test. Haridas Thakur was an Acharya, right? He's a Nama Acharya. So he was tested by this envious Brahmin who didn't like him. So he hired a lady to make him fall down. But instead of him falling down, he turned her into a devotee, right? But that was not the end of the test. Maya Devi herself, if you read the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Chaitanya Charitamrita carefully, you'll say he was tested a second time by Maya Devi herself. She came in front of him, and it says that she performed different postures in front of him. And it didn't faze him at all. And she tried everything she could to make him fall down. He did not fall down. And then she surrendered unto him and became his devotee. Maya Devi herself. You read carefully Srimad Bhagavatam about Haridas Thakur, you'll see. That's called the Acharya test. The test gets harder the more you advance in spiritual life. And it's done to vet us, to make sure we actually deserve to go back to Godhead. Right? Okay, so now we had one question, so we can adjourn. All glories to Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Haribo.